Let's make a book of bits and bobs. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. Well, I'm coming to you on a very blustery day here on the south coast of England, and our project for this month, for June 2025, is to make a booklet or a book of bits and bobs. It's a book of scraps, and inside we will be housing lots of removable pieces for you to be able to use within your craft projects. Now, you can play along with this month's challenge. You might be able to send this to a like-minded friend. It's a great happy mail, but it's lovely to make one for yourself as well, particularly if you're planning a journal coming up, or if you'd like to jump in and get involved with our coastal vibe this month. And in here you can insert pages, scraps, ephemera, and all the little things that you might want to add to a future journal. So we're making these this month. I'm going to show you how to do it. And in this video, I'm also going to be reading a letter which is inspired by a 1935 letter from Charlotte. So I'm going to be reading Charlotte's letter, and we are taking that as our inspiration. That is why we've got the sea and the cottage. That is all part of the story for this one. Now, we will be getting back to this journal this month, so we're just having a little pause while we have a little side quest to show you what we're doing for next month. So this is going to be our summer journal. It's going to be something I start piecing together in July. So this is a heads up of the mood and the vibe and where we're going to be taking things here at the Treasured Page in July, August and September for the summer months. So we are going on a lovely coastal adventure with this one. But this is just going to hold the ephemera for that journal. That journal hasn't been made yet. That's something I will be piecing together in July with the help of some wonderful women and creative makers from around the UK. Now, if any of you were tuning in to find out the results of the shibori fabric, where I was folding up some fabric and putting it in a dye bath of tea, coffee and some rusty pieces, I did actually get this. Now, it's very subtle, but it has worked. If I'd left it a long time, I might have got more definition. It's very subtle, but it's really, really lovely. So you can see that that is something that you can make for free. Try and leave the link to that below. So I only touched on the dyeing process quite lightly, but we can have a look at that in fuller detail another time. But yes, it does work, and it's a really lovely effect. So this is going to come and be part of the journal that I'm working on over here. All right, guys, without further ado, let's crack on. Now, here you can see in front of me I've got some papers. This is going to be part of the journal that I shall be working on in July. So just so you can understand how this project has come about, last week I took a quiet moment in my craft room, nice coffee, and I sat down. And I have vintage letters that I've collected over many years. These are some really lovely treasured pieces, and within them are some 1930s letters. And these form the inspiration of this month's project, where we have a letter that I will read out for you from Charlotte. So Charlotte's letter. Now, Charlotte's letter has come about through a number of letters of that time, and I have written and embellished areas to fit the theme that I want to work within for this month. So Charlotte's letter is definitely based in historical fact, and it is definitely from a lady who was conversing with her friend Evelyn, and these are from the letters. So I've made one big letter about the whole situation and left out some of the sadness, which is that they are overcoming grief, these ladies. So let's leave it at that. They're overcoming grief, and this is how they go about it. So we're going to focus on the positive here and what they end up doing, and the letter is going to be read out shortly. Now, here you can see I've been dyeing some papers. I've been using tea. I have been splattering tea on copy paper, and I've also added a little spritz of mica shimmer to these as well. And I've been having a go at different paper weights. So this was tissue paper. using the same method. It obviously gets saturated and sometimes it tears, but these are lovely pieces to then be able to use as background pieces, as collage, to be able to glue down for mixed media. So that's what I've been up to. So I just thought I'd show you my papers that I am proposing to use in my journal making next month. So they're lovely, they've come out. Hopefully that's showing up there. That is a beautiful ink by Tim Holtz. That's Tumbled Glass. So it's a lovely blue. Wow, we've got pink coming in here. And this was tracing paper, just to get that lovely crinkle, and the translucency of water looks lovely on the tracing paper. So I just thought I'd show you my papers, and then some lovely sandy colours, and I've been experimenting with torn edges to get that sort of beachy coastal theme. So there we have some papers which you can see could be rather wonderful. Now, when I first start a project, I do like to shop my stash. I go through the things that I've already got and I start pulling out things that remind me of the theme. So we're thinking about coastal, I'm thinking about the blues and the creams, maybe, you know, pretty little lace trim coming in, having a look at all the things and seeing what will give me that inspiration, feeling like a artist retreat on the coast. And I'm looking at these colour tones, creams, whites, turquoisey blues, beautiful colours here coming in, lovely sea greens, just pretty, and some nice fabrics and texture, all of that. So looking at that, and everything's being thrown in that little tub to contain it. Okay, so I've just got some packaging here. This comes from some linen, I believe, and what I've got here is a folded piece. This is going to form the basis of my Bits and Bobs book. I'm going to do two because I've also got another one here. You can have these any size you want. I'm planning on putting a napkin inside. It's a cocktail napkin and it's 5 inches, so I want to clear that 5 inches. So I think we'll do 5 1/4. So this measures 28 centimetres, 11 inches, and I'm going to alter it. This is too long because it's supposed to be a small book or something I can send, so I don't want it too chunky. So I'm just cutting down the packaging. We can make these all different sizes. This is 7 inches. I'm thinking maybe 7 1/2 might be nice, so I'm just going to go a little bit longer with this one. Right. So I might want to put a napkin in here. I would need to make sure that the length is fine. So 7 inches or 7 1/2 inches is fine, and then when we put the napkin in, that will fit if we want to put a napkin in. Right, good. So that's that. Now I've also come to the end of this tracing paper pack, and at the back here it's quite a nice card. It's just that flexible greeting card thickness. That's all you want, but you could definitely make a soft cover out of something like that. An old book cover, anything you've got. Okay, so once you've got something that you're happy with, we're just going to bend around and give yourself a bit of a spine. You can put that through a scoreboard if you want. I'm not going to worry because I've just got some creases in there. So let me open that out. It came with one anyway because this was just some packaging, so I've just put a few more creases in there to create that little bend around soft cover. So you could have it flat like that, just put 2 score lines in and give yourself a spine like that with the folded area, but I'm just rounding it for this one. Okay, so we've got our substrate to work on. That's just junk from the bin. And then what I want to show you is when I was making my papers using the dye, using the tea and the stain, I also had some fabric off to the side, which is a lining fabric. This is the sort of thing that you'd expect in the inside of a skirt lining, and it's used for dressmakers. So I had a friend who had a length of this after she was doing some dressmaking, and that was a remnant scrap. So I took some lengths off of that yesterday, and when I was cleaning up as a mop, I was soaking up the ink from the table where I was doing my ink dyeing and from the dye bath. So this was all residual tea stain and the Tim Holtz dye there, which I've just had soaking up onto this fabric. So I had some lengths and then it's been like that. Then I left it out to dry outside and then forgot about it, and it rained, and I've actually got some really interesting textures there, so you can see that it's given quite a nice watery look. So I was really pleased with that as an idea. And that could have been white cotton as well. You would have got that look if you've got a bed sheet you could cut up. And then you get fabric dyed in the same colour tones that you're going to be working in. So I thought that that was a good idea to share. Alright, so now I've got my cards looking like that. They're just going to wrap around. That is going to be more fun because this is going to be a flexible journal. You're going to be adding quite a bit of bulk into the spine, so it's quite good to have that style as opposed to the flat one. You can do either, but this one's going to work better because we're going to be adding bulky things into the pages, which is going to be ephemera. Alright, now because I'm working with old scraps and they already came with some bends and folds, I'm just going to use a bit here from the packaging and strengthen that up there. So I'm now just gluing on an extra piece just to strengthen that fold. So you wouldn't have to do this. This is only if you come across this type of problem. So that will just stop that bending now, so that's nice and strong. These were just the scrap pieces that I trimmed away, so I'm just sticking that down to strengthen that area which has a fold in it. So I'll just match that up and then press that down. And we trim that away, and now we've got a much more strengthened piece. Okay, I've got a stack of 4 pages here. I'm going to be lining them front and back. That gives them extra strength, and it also gives me a little bit more of an inspirational background. Okay, I'm gluing round, and I'm going to be sticking this down onto my tea stain paper that I've got here. I'm going to line that up, push that down. And then that hides that blue marketing. So we've got that now. Okay, going all the way around with the glue right up to the edges. I'm doing the same with this one. Put that down. Now I'm just going to cut the corners off, and I'm going to fold in these little sides. So we just cut the corners off like that. Okay, so I'm putting glue all the way around the edge, and then I'm folding in these sides. Just bringing in those sides. If the paper's a bit short, then the bone folder is quite useful. Okay, now with my bone folder, I'm just pushing against my creased areas, and I'm pulling that round to put back in my fold. So I just keep going until I'm happy that I've got the fold coming back how I wanted it. Put that back in so that we can see that that's now working like that. All right. Several ways to do this. You can either push it in with the bone folder like that, or you can push it down on the table and then fold it over like that. You get a nice straight edge. But I then tend to find that I need the bone folder to just pull it up and just do it like that. Now, it doesn't matter if this is wonky, scrappy, or looking a little bit dishevelled at this point. This is actually the front cover. It's going to be like that. We've just lined the inside there. So that's what's happened there. So now what I want to make sure is that I'm still getting that shape. And that you can embellish as well, so don't worry what it looks like. Alright, so these are lining papers. They are just acting to strengthen the project. Right, now we're going to repeat the process again. So this is now going down here on this as a lining paper. Let's just remove that so you can see that that's what that's looking like. We're just lining it. We're strengthening it as well. So it doesn't matter what this paper is, but you may see some of it. All right, these are coming together great now, so you can make quite a few of these if you wanted to and have a whole little collection, and then you could theme them to all the different things that you might want to have further down the line. So if you want to plan ahead for, you know, journals like that. And if you've put in your creases in the beginning, then the whole thing should just work out nicely. You'll start to get it looking like that. So you keep working that until you're happy with it. Smooth that bit out in the middle again. Don't worry about it because that will get covered with something pretty in a moment. So there we have them. All right, now I want to line it with some paper. So I found some scrapbooking paper that sort of fits the theme. Coastal, we've got the map, the sea, so that sort of seemed to make sense to me. And that is what I have to work with today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away a section here so that it allows the spine to wiggle and move. So I've cut out my middle section. I've gone a bit wrong because this one is longer than this one. So when we put it here, I've done that, look. That fits in lovely, perfect. And this one is now too short. Now this is a good exercise in measuring twice and cut once, because I have got this one which fits in perfectly and this one which doesn't, so that's fine. I'm going to now do a little bit of artistic license because I'd like to see the UK, because this is going out to a swap partner living in the UK, so I'm going to swap that one over there. We're going to have a pocket that comes and lives there anyway, and then this one is going to come and live here, and again I'll put a pocket on the back as well, so it doesn't matter because we won't see that. That will be where the pocket goes. So that's how we craft our way out of that one. Now if you make a mistake in junk journaling, do not worry, it's very forgiving. In fact, the whole point is to have a go and make mistakes. Do something for the first time, you're probably going to make the odd mistake, but there comes the fun in figuring out how you're going to get around it. Okay, this is my trim going down there like that and along the bottom. That will be a nice little fabric pocket there. And there we are, nice little vintage bit at the back there. So that's coming together now. All right, adding more glue there, and I'm just using my finger because I don't want this to seep through this very fine fabric, which is, it could be a cotton. This one is sari silk. I'm just going to move. All right, so I'm just adding that in there like that, little crinkly detail. All right, this is really fun, and I've got these offcuts, so I thought these would be quite fun to just create a bit of a pocket. I'm going to extend them to make the pocket slightly deeper, so I'm gluing them together, and that should extend this out a little bit. There we go. That gives me a substrate there to decorate, so we can have that, and that will be the pocket. Just want to get that on straight. All right, I'm covering it in glue because I've got this really pretty lace. I'm just going to put some down there, like that. So just lining that map piece that we just had with this pretty trim or lace that I've got here, and take that away. So that's going to go down there now. And then in the middle, I'm just going to add this paper scrap here, and then adding this down as my pocket, just gluing 3 sides. Okay, with my distress ink, I've got rusty hinge and walnut stain. I've just gone over some corrugated card which started out as just a white colour. You can sometimes find that from packaging, chocolate boxes or things like that. You can sometimes take the top layer off and then you're left with the corrugated bit. And I've got some paint here which could be gesso, it could be correcting fluid, it could be, this is chalk paint, but it could also be just acrylic white. So I'm putting that on, and then that's just going to be an extra detail that's going to come into my collage for this beach theme. So that's fine. So we're going to leave that to dry. All right, so I've got my covers here. I'm going to sit and decorate those. I'll put that on a time lapse so you can watch my process. And I'm going to be reading out Charlotte's letter so you can understand the inspiration for these pieces to fit the theme, which is the story within Charlotte's letter. Charlotte's letter, Catchling's Cottage, Cornish coast, 6th of June, 1935. My dearest Evelyn, how the years have slipped through our fingers like sand. I often find myself reminiscing about our youthful summers, especially our river and lake adventures, so vividly imprinted in my memory. Life, with all its demands, inexorably pulled us apart, yet in my heart you have remained close. Recently, feeling an insistent whisper in my heart for solitude and renewal, I did rather a bold thing. I booked a retreat to a coastal cottage. Oh, the magic I found here! Just a few days into my stay, the owners unexpectedly arrived with news of their unforeseen travel overseas to be with family. To my utter amazement, they invited me to stay on and care for the entire property at their expense. I could hardly believe my good fortune. The next day, they moved out of the main house with nearly all their belongings. I don't think they plan to return for a very long time. I have the house, including the cottage and garden, all to myself. Oh, Evie, you cannot imagine the gift this has been. The cottage, Catchings, perches above the breathtaking sweep of the sea with windows gazing out to the horizon. Each sunrise bathes the room in pearlescent light, and evenings descend in hues of rose and amber. I've indulged all day painting, letting creativity flow as the tides. Then, with the waves as my lullaby, I find restorative sleep I haven't known in years. I've taken to wandering the shoreline, much as we did as girls. Barefoot on the sand, I collect shells, smooth pebbles and sea glass, adding them to old bottles and watching the light dance off them on the window ledge. I found coastal blooms in the garden and pressed their beauty onto the pages of my sketchbook. How I long for you to experience this simple magic. Perhaps you are in need of an escape and you'll join me here for the season. I will surely need your help exploring the house next door with its sail loft and views across the ocean. I go regularly to the farmers' markets. The fresh, locally grown and caught produce has been a pure delight, and the locals' kindness welcome me with warmth and laughter. I have even found a Singer sewing machine. We could enjoy making those whimsical crafts like we used to, infusing them with coastal charms for your artistic endeavours. I made a couple of new friends on a train ride down to Penzance last month. It turned out we all lived just across the field from one another. I'd love you to meet them. We enjoyed ourselves so much at the King's Jubilee celebrations. We plan to go to the village dance for the country fair. Do pack your dancing shoes and say you'll come. It's warm enough to swim in the afternoons too. We could reminisce and dream anew, forget for a while about time's relentless march. Until such a meeting, may this letter inspire your own retreat, and I will be here waiting for you, my dear friend. With all my love, Charlotte. Okay, so you can have lots of fun playing around with the front covers and putting together something that you feel works for you. I had some images of cottages, so that's what I've chosen, but you could pick anything out of the letter that I've read. You could have the shoes, you could have a train, you could have the beach theme, or go with shells or anything, you know, the sewing machine. Any of those aspects you could bring in for your front cover embellishment and just have a play. Now for the inside, to get the bits and bobs element. So this is not stuck down, that was just a little idea, but I've not completed that one. But let's have a look at the inside of these. So here we go, we've got, this one wants a pocket, I haven't got to that bit. let's go with this one. Now for the inside, there's lots of ways you could do this. You could punch some holes and you could thread some elastic or some string or cord or decorative yarn and just simply wrap it around, and then you will be able to put your papers through there and tie it in a knot or a bow. So let me just get that leveled up like that. Alright, so for this, now I could trap that in. I could glue that and stick something over it so that that stays in place and that becomes part of the embellishment. So we then have this cool tying. In fact, that's lovely. Let's do that. Let's do that for this one as well. Okay. Alright, so if we did the idea like that, that's how it would appear on the outside, and you could put some beads or embellish that if you wanted down the outside, and we've just got the tie here. So underneath here is where you can put some papers, ephemera and bits and bobs that you want to send. So we could have a think. Right, so this is how it could all go together. I've got a little bit of sewing paper there. Now I've got some nice tracing paper, so I could add that in there like that, and then you'll start to see how this can all become, and it won't have a sharp crease in it because it's going to be this wraparound bend, so you'll be able to pull the papers out. Although it'll have a slight bend in there, you'd still be able to use that for collage or to add as a journal page. So there's that idea. So that gets added in there like that. And then you just build up from there. Add in fabrics that fit the mood or the theme. See what you've got. See if there's anything that would fit the theme that you would be happy to share. And that could come in and be part of this journal. Just give some different textures and colours and little bits and bobs, all different sizes. All right, you can see that starting to build up now. That's looking good. So if I fold that over, remember this is the one that I haven't decorated, we can have a little look at how it could appear. So I've got my charms there, I've got a pocket here for other things, and then these all become little pages in their own right, but they're all removable. And then when you get to something like this where you folded the paper, you could have that as a pocket, and you would be able to use a paper clip to secure that and then put other things in there. So you could have some journaling cards, or you could make things so that you would be able to put maybe some other little smaller pieces, labels and things that you don't want to fall out. They could go in there, and you could make a little paper clip. So it's a really lovely little project, and so that's how this is all going to come together. Same with the bag. You could put some little trim, or perhaps you've got some lace so that you could add some nice little pieces that you think might just help with the journal. And that's all we're doing. So this is lovely, because this is how you could also organise yourself for your own journal, and then you think, right, that's all the things that I want to be putting in my journal next month, and I'm going to keep that, and it's really neat. So you can embellish it and have it more three-dimensional or mixed media, or you could keep that really plain and just label it, and then you could have a section of those. You don't have to embellish the front either. You could have it like that. You could even create a little dangle where you can see the spine tells you exactly which one that is. So that is your seaside journal, and then you can have a nature journal, all the things that you might want to journal about. There you go. So you can make your own book of bits and bobs, and you can keep everything together, all the things that you might want to journal with. It's a lovely happy mail. It's really fun to just sit and create something, a little scene on the front there, and yeah, we could make these in multiple different ways. They're not very thick. Even the stuffed one, you know, they don't have to be huge, so they are more like booklets, but they are fun, and you could make several for your own journaling to go forward. So these are really great, and they come out nice and sturdy. So this is a lovely idea to use up the scraps. If you're drowning in your own supplies, you could try and organise them in a really fun way. And this is a great place for storing used tissue paper as well. You could make these in any size and just make it work for you, your supplies, your stash, or if you are sending this off to a like-minded friend. Okay guys, I hope this was inspirational for you and you'll go off and make your own book of scraps or book of bits and bobs. So thank you very much for joining me today. Do please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment if you thought this was worth your time. And above everything else, guys, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.